I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and this is No Old White Guys for Secular TV. So I'm here with Stephanie. You say it because
Guttormson.
I messed it up, and you were.
I don't because it's been my name for a while.
Yes. Well, you predicted correctly that I'd mess it up, and I was like, it's like Aaron. It's like I know his name's Aaron, but as soon as I talk to him, hi Aaron. Oh. Anyhow, so I've said the point of this show before, but I'm going to ask you the simple question of, when you think of atheism 5 years ago, who do you think of?
Let's see. Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Ion Hirsi Ali, Christopher Hitchens, and Damien Lennon, and Vic Stenger, and I think that's it.
Prominently former Christian white males.
Yes.
And now who do you think of?
Jacqueline Glenn, Matt Dillahunty, JT Everhard. Let's see, Greta Christina. Those are the names that come up for me.
So white males still fairly prominent, but things are obviously changing, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But the aim of the show is, I would like to throw the focus on basically all the other ones who aren't former Christian white males. So you're borderline on that, but we'll get to that later. First, I want to ask you, in growing up, what was your family's religious affiliation?
Cafeteria Catholic.
Take what you please, leave the rest?
Yeah.
And how strongly were they?
I can't speak for them. I know that I was for a while, and then I breached the 4th grade. This is real, you asked. And it was in 4th grade that it was a silly reason, too. It was such a childish reason. My teachers were mean in 4th grade.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, maybe. It was just that little, like, I don't know.
If God were real, people wouldn't be so mean?
Not so much that. It's just more like if this religion was true, right, then all the teachings I heard in church would be. I mean, it wasn't so sophisticated as that, really, but it was like.
Now, did you go to public school, or was this a more
Catholic
religious
school?
Catholic
it was Catholic school. Like,
well, there you go.
That's what I mean. Like, because of the environment and everything, I guess that context helps. But because of the environment, it's like, how you're supposed to be following, like, the loving dude, the one that's nailed, like, it seemed weird.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I mean, over the years, I always hear Catholic schools are really horrific. I mean, they're
atheist
mean
factories. They're
mean, sadistic.
No.
Well,
I wouldn't say it was that. I mean, no, I know what you're talking about. It's more like the convent style.
Yeah.
This wasn't necessarily a convent. It was just a private school.
Yeah.
It wasn't. They had some nuns were teachers. Some of the teachers weren't nuns. So it was it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't that kind.
It was a Catholic school, but not.
Yeah, it wasn't what I call convent. Like my mom was in a convent where they had bars and windows, and it was all nuns all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
There's a big difference.
Those ones I heard that were just horrific.
Oh, they are.
Just
because they could like beat with rulers and just get away with all sorts of awful stuff. But that wasn't when I like. That's why when my 4th grade teacher was a little on the meaner side, then I was like, because my other teachers had been so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Up until then.
So, at what point did you lose your faith, or even consider yourself atheist?
Well, I would have to say I stopped wanting to go to church when I was like 9 or 10, late middle school.
Now, is that because you were losing your faith or losing your patience?
I was a child. I didn't want to get up.
Yeah.
It wasn't even patience. I want to get up at fucking 6 a.m. to go to a place I didn't want. I just didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I was 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Let me just look. I was a kid. Yeah. I had no intellectual arguments for any of this. I could have been wrong. Yeah. So it was all totally pragmatic. I don't want to go because I want to sleep in. I want to have fun. I want to go do stuff because I'm a kid. That was it. That was all.
And quite often, I heard that it's like, it's the argument made now. It's like you want to be your own boss. You don't want God because you want to do things your way.
No, it had nothing to do with doing it my way. I just... Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the argument now.
Maybe God ways shouldn't start at 7 o'clock in the morning on the last day of the weekend. Maybe if he was all powerful and all knowing, he would fucking seen that. And church would start at like 10 o'clock on, I don't know, Friday. You know, maybe the Muslims have it right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They do it multi times a day, every day. So
they're the bomb, though, aren't they? I mean, they're just great.
Yeah, they're very they're doing a hell of a job.
They are.
So, had church been at a more reasonable time and been more fun, do you think you would have stuck with it? I probably would have
stayed in longer, but given how absurd it is. Because once I was a little older, not much older, actually. Sophomore in high school was when I was like, yeah, I'm atheist. Like, I could say it and have intellectual defenses for it, you know. And it's also the year that I busted one of my teachers for leading prayer during school time in a Christian club. Now, that sounds, before anyone that's on the internet starts going, but it's their club and they can do that. The problem is that the law says that they can have the club all they want. Yeah. The kids can have the club.
Yeah.
They're required to have an advisor. Fine. They may even be required to be supervised. Fine. What the state paid employee, in this case a teacher, can't do is lead a prayer or lead religious service in any way during that time, while it's on school grounds during school time, lunchtime. Yeah. It's still school time.
They're only allowed to be advisory.
Yes. And so I walked in on, how I came about this, I wasn't stalking him. I was taking his AP World History class, and his class was right after my lunch block, right? So obviously when it was just about time for lunch, I'd go in, I'd grab my books, and I'd drop it off, because that's what you drop it off and then go see your friends for the last 10, 15 minutes. Well, I did that, and I saw him praying, and, you know, I eventually got a meeting with my mom. There was other stuff, too. He was, like, he was concerned that I was being hostile and da-da-da-da, because I was calling out nonsense in class.
Yes.
But he thought I was doing it in kind of, I probably was. You know, I was 15, who knows. It could have been being a dick. But once we sat down, I came to the meeting with the Colorado law in my hand, and I said, listen, here's what you got to do to get me to stop doing what I'm doing. And this isn't a threat. This is a promise, because you're breaking the law. Here's what's going on. Here's where it says, yes, as teachers, if someone, a person of the state or an employee of the state, cannot be leading prayers and I read the law. And I looked at the principal and I said, either this stops from taking you to court, and I have nothing more to say. And I just got up and I walked home. I left my mom there, everybody. I just said, those are the conditions. Out. Because there wasn't anything else to say. Like, he stops breaking the law, I'll quit being an asshole in class. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
One of those things is not illegal.
Yes.
It might be bad form to be an asshole in class and, you know, being kind of, you know, I don't know, I would guess being too firebrandy about it, you know, kind of in a dickish kind of way and or just trying to, you know, get at him.
Yeah.
But it got him to stop. Like, it got him to recognize that I had a problem, so that I could. It was almost like I used it as a way to get his attention, so I'd go, "Hey, yeah, you're breaking the law," without just going to him and saying you're breaking the law. Yeah. I wanted to kind of make it bring to everyone's attention.
Yeah.
You know, like, no, dude, you can't do this. So that's how that started. That's I guess you could say that's where my activism started. It was kind of sporadic until I got to college.
How did your family respond to?
Oh, my mom.
This?
I mean, she was pissed that I walked out on her vice principal. She was not happy by the way in which it was conducted. She thought it was fairly rude, but she was completely behind me the whole time. She was like, "Hey, he's breaking the law. That's all. Don't let him take shit. You can't act like that." You know, that was, and she was right. I mean, she's not wrong as far as that goes.
Well, I meant more. How'd she?
Oh, to me,
the fact that you were losing your faith.
By that time, we had all. It was once I told my mom I didn't want to go to church anymore. She obviously didn't go by herself.
Yeah.
She's not. She's in some ways she's just as pragmatic as I am.
So
if I didn't want to go, she wasn't going to go. Why the fuck would she do that? She's not going to just leave me home so she could go talk to the ceiling for 3 hours.
So her religion was just something you did, and and if you didn't want to do it, there was no point in her doing it.
Her explanation was for that it seemed to provide some structure, and that later she realized, wow, that was like I was wrong, and so I'm not so mad about when you know. There was some learning growing on her part too, because she's human. It's whatever.
So this was your start of realizing that you could affect change in the world. How did that carry on through college?
So there were some kids signing up people to like be part of a new atheist group, which had a really awful acronym I won't go into. But they were like, hey, I was like, oh, I'm totally down for this. Like, let's go. And so I ended up being like an officer of that. So that group kind of like the person who started it kind of went away. And so myself and the remaining officer were like, fuck this, we can do it way better. So we started Metro State Atheists in Denver, and that took off fairly well. We were able to bring in like really big speakers. Like started off with people like John Loftus and P.Z. Myers, and what was the other one? That was like right around that time too. So we ended up getting Michael Shermer, James Randi, Joe
cool.
Nickel, like.
So,
really prominent.
Yeah, really. That's really cool.
Randy was fun. That was so cool. That was my favorite.
Yeah. He was the Penn and Teller of his time.
he's still like, amazing. But that's how that started. And then it was actually because of the fact that I did so much activism there and went to almost every single student conference. I found a way to get to everyone, whether it be CFI or SSA.
Mm-hmm.
That I ended up meeting the people who run these organizations, specifically RDF. And that's kind of how I got my job a couple of years after I graduated.
Cool. Well, it's nice to have a job in something you're passionate about.
This is how you know I wasn't about to quit RDF. The second I got the job, I went to my old retail job at the time. The day I got the confirmation, I dropped my key in the car. I was fucking out. We're done. I don't care how uncouth I was. It's one of those things where, like, I don't mind burning bridges when the land is scorched and you have no reason to go back. Yeah. It's almost like burning a bridge to a melting ice sheet. You're like, it's going away. It's going away fast. And it's kind of like South Park, where they set them adrift.
Yeah.
The guys who start the strike for Canada. Yes. You've ever seen that episode? They set them adrift at the end. Spoilers. Yes. And I'm not your guy friend. I'm not your friend, buddy. I'm not your buddy, guy. I'm not your guy friend. And it's just over and over.
Yes.
Anyway,
remember it well.
That's how I feel about it. Just I burnt the bridge because I'm never going to use them as a reference ever again. Like my first real jobby job, and I'm doing it well at this point. Yeah, I'm comfortable now. Stressful as it is.
Right now, I see you helping with the Richard Dawkins Foundation. What is your role in that?
I am the operations director. Shit happens because of me. That tablecloth exists because of me. No, that's not a joke. I designed it and ordered it and everything. From beginning to end, I made that happen. The banner, I designed it. We had to designed it and we got it made, and at the end of that. So stuff happens because the website does what it does because of me, whether you like it or not. A lot of the redesign has a lot of my hands on it, how things are designed on there, and a lot of stuff gets I do the finances. I make sure bills get paid.
So just to show there's somebody behind all this stuff.
Yeah, this is not magic, people. It's me you're talking to. Yeah.
So conferences.
Yep.
How many conferences have you been to?
Been to. All right. It depends on how far you want to go back. If you want to go back to college, no, I'm serious. If you want to go back to college, the first ever one I went to was CFI World Congress in 2009. After that, I went to all student conferences. There was a regional one. I went to then Columbus, CFI every year. So by the time I got out of college, I'd probably been to about 5 or 6. Because that's how many, there were. And then since being with RDF, I've been to American Atheist twice. I've been to SSA another 2 times. No, 3 times. Another 3 times. No, it's 2. It's 2. Sorry. So I've been to another 2 of those. I've been to another CFI World student conference. What else did I go to? What else? There's another one. Non-con. I was just in non-con in Toronto.
I just heard about that this year.
Yeah, the non-believers con.
Yes.
I mean, it's Canada's the second year they were doing it, so. But it was fun. It was well organized. It was really, really good. So I did that, and now I'm at Apostacon. There's very few cons I haven't been to yet. The ones I want to get to are AHA, and then next month I'm speaking at Atheist Alliance of America International.
Where's that at?
It's in, I don't know where they're based, but the conference is going to be in Atlanta. And then, depending on how it works out, I'm probably going to Duke in the same month. So,
to where?
Duke University.
Oh, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Familiar with North Carolina. Used to live there.
I have flown.
I got family there.
I have flown through it. Not impressed.
Huh?
I've flown through it.
North Carolina is gorgeous. I love living in North Carolina, but it is part of the Bible Belt, and it is.
I mean, your airport's terrible.
Oh.
I've had to fly. I'm saying I had to connect planes in North Carolina, and I disapprove. Just categorically, you don't shape it like a fucking boomerang. It's a stupid idea. I'm sorry. It's.
Fine. I had nothing to do with that, so I didn't.
I know you have nothing to do with that, but I'm just telling you that's my impression of North Carolina in the moment, because ignorantly, I've not been outside of that. Hopefully, when I go to Duke, it'll change. But your airport's horrible. Fuck that airport. I'm an airport snob. So not that I travel nearly as much as, say, like Matt or something, but I've traveled enough where I think I can go, your airport's shit. Atlanta is like DIA, from where I'm from in Denver, so I like it. Port Columbus is hilariously small. If you've ever been to Columbus, their airport, you could spit across it.
Been to one in Mexico that was basically just a room.
Okay, you got me beat. My experience with Canada wasn't super good. The second I got there, Customs threw away my dog food because it wasn't in the original packaging and other really arbitrary rules. And I'm like, aren't these people supposed to be nice? What the hell dick move is this? You'd rather see my dog starve than let in dog food?
So back on topic.
Yes, sorry. I got way off. I tend to do it. You gotta shut me up.
So, was this your first Apostacon?
I have been dying to go to the other 2. I can never get there because Richard's tours are usually, his fall tours are right around when Apostacon is. So justifying out, coming out here, had we not been speaking, I'd still be in DC working on his tour. Probably doing that over the weekend at this point now. But yeah, this is my first one.
Well, there are a growing number of other cons. Gateway to Reason, which was a new one this year. I was at that one. That was really good.
Yeah.
Especially considering it was a first time out. It was very professional. It had a great lineup, and
I'm liking the fact that we're seeing a little bit more regional stuff, though it's hurting the national ones a little bit. And there's some give and take there, but you can't really beat Apostacon. There's no regional conference that can do what AA does, or what Apostacon does, or even what Skepticon does. Like, the big ones still have their appeal. And I think eventually, hopefully, the regional ones will make people realize, like, this is nice, and I can meet other people in my area. But if I want to see the biggest names, I want to see, they'll start to get the idea a little bit.
Now, next summer we have the Reason Rally. Mm-hmm. What part is Richard Dawkins Foundation going to take of that?
We're going to be a major sponsor. I can't say to what, and I can't say more than that. But we're going to be sponsoring it just like we did in 2012, because it's super important that we be a part of it. And it's going to be fun. We're in DC now, so it's easier for us to sponsor it and be a little bit more hands-on.
Yes.
And then, so I think once it starts getting closer, we're going to try and be a little bit more hands-on with it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So
we're getting Richard here for it, so...
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
That's
Cool.
why he's on the speakers list early.
Cool.
Because we were like, yeah, we're gonna make sure he's here. That's our job.
He's actually
He can't miss. He cannot miss recent rally. Yeah. That would be like so horrible if he missed recent rally.
But he's on my the very tail end of my list. I've met most of the people that I've really wanted to meet, which has been fantastic. But he's one of the very few that I haven't met yet. So I hope to have the opportunity to meet him.
Well,
I'm sure he'll be very busy though.
I'm gonna have to do it. I can pitch it now. So I'm going to. You asked for it. We actually have a membership level now. Now that we have membership,
yes.
RDF has membership. Go to richarddawson.net/join. That allows you to have a conversation with him every year.
That's pretty cool.
So there's donors at a certain level, and I'll tell you how much it is, and it's not as much as you think. Where there's a yearly chat, and depending on how many members we get at that particular level, we might expand it to a couple to make it easier for everyone to get their fill. But the first one's going to be October 11th, and the level that's at is $20 a month or $240 a year. This is not nearly as much as we're thinking, I assume. But yeah, you can.
Well, not as much as the dinners are. But that's a little more upfront, though.
I will not speak
face.
to those on camera. I mean, it's fundraising. Y'all gotta just deal. This stuff doesn't happen for free.
Yeah, no, I know.
So.
I know, and he's trying to do a lot, so you need money to do a lot.
I'm telling you, those dinners, like, it's the reason there's so much is like it really is you and like maybe 20 other people.
Yeah.
For like 3 hours, it's just you guys.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. You really get to talk. Like it's not just some BS where you signed your book, which is fine. I'm not poo-pooing that at all, obviously.
Yeah.
But you really do get a lot of one-on-one time with him, and that's why it's so expensive. It's every person that's come out of that has been like, "Oh, it's totally worth it." I mean, a guy flying from Australia to go to a dinner in LA, and then he left. He went back to Australia that night.
Yeah,
that's not a joke. He came in, went to dinner, went back to Australia.
Well, it's very important. So just for
I mean, his plane tickets cost more than going to the dinner, people. Like, don't tell me it's that expensive. Yeah. But no, for only $200, I mean, I say only, but for $240 a year, not only do you get all the other stuff from all the other levels, but you get to talk to Richard and ask him questions, and it's a video chat, but you still get to see him, meet him, and he'll see you, and all that stuff. So, why not?
Why not?
So when are you signing up? I'm kidding. I'm not putting you on a spot like that.
I'm at the basic level, so.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you're there. As long as you're
gotta start somewhere.
We'll upsell you later.
But cool. I'm a basic level on a lot of different things, so that in itself adds up.
True.
Last thing I want to ask you about is the involvement of the Oakland Secular movement. What do you think of that, and how important is that?
Well, I think if I'm paid to tell you that it's awesome. Although, even if I wasn't paid to tell you that it's awesome, I like it better than the Out campaign because it is kind of like an Out campaign 2.0. Yeah. But it is a much better focus. Instead of just saying come out, it's come out. Let's have a community, and let's have some focus goals like getting rid of stigma. Yeah. That is coming out is one thing. Just coming out is one thing. But coming out for a purpose and making it known and trying to help other people realize they're not alone. That's super important. And if it's not for that, like we're not going to get anywhere. The LGB, and there's a reason I'm going to leave out the other one. The LGB community had a really successful coming out kind of thing because that's essentially what they did. Yes. It eventually went from just come out to come out for a reason, and then you see how that worked. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, I've been saying it for a very long time that I think
product placement.
Actually, it's good product placement because I'm a display designer and I do displays for Dr. Pepper. So that actually works into my job. My salesman will be very happy to see that.
Dr. Pepper, 23 flavors, and we still don't know what kind of cola it is. Is it root beer? Is it cola? I don't know.
It's all original.
It is as South Park termed it, an agnostic beverage.
How appropriate.
It is. Is it cola? Is it root beer? No one knows. I died when I saw that. Anyway, sorry.
Well, the point I was getting to
that I interrupted you for
was I've been saying for a very long time that I think the number of atheists, percentage-wise, is probably a lot closer to 35%. But 15 to 20% of those people, of the 35, are closet or don't realize or just don't want to make the effort to, they're so used to going to church. Why stop? Why make the hassle?
Cultural Christians.
Yes.
They have those
and they don't realize that the more people that come out and just acknowledge that they're atheists, the more normalized it becomes, the easier it is for those who do have a difficult time coming out, who really want to come out and feel that they can't.
I mean, Ryan Bell is kind of he's here, obviously, and he's kind of, I don't want to say a special case. And I told him this as much, too. I said, when I first heard that you were, quote-unquote, trying atheism for the year, I thought you were full of shit. I told him that to his face. Because I said, just hear me out, because I evolved my opinion of them telling you up front. And then when I first heard you were doing that, I thought you were an asshole, I thought you were full of shit. And I thought you were doing it as a public stunt and, whatever. Yeah. And then it turns out, he wasn't. It was an honest investigation for himself. And I was like, oh, well, if it's not a stunt, then yeah, dude, go for it. Yeah. It's not so much trying it as exploring the ideas. Because when you say trying it, it makes it sound temporary.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's what I had a problem with. And I told him, I see that. But it's because of people like him, being brave enough to be this is all I know. Yeah. But let's see what it's about. At least the self-investigation part. Yeah. You could have stayed a Christian. Jerry DeWitt is another one. Yes. Though he didn't do it the same way. Yeah. He didn't try it. He just
realized it.
He was like, wow, I'm going to lose everything. But I have to be honest. Because if I'm not honest for the rest of my life, then my life is not, because I'm not putting words in his mouth, but it seems like that honesty is super, super important to him. And if it was well, I have this one life, and honesty is super important to me, I can't live my life dishonestly.
Yeah. I mean, how happy can you be when you're faking your way through it? If you're doing something that you don't agree with just because it's your job.
Tell me about it. So I have a whole talk about this tomorrow.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask you.
Why do I invite? All right, go for it. No, I'm just letting you know that whatever you ask will be turned around on you tomorrow. I have a whole talk designed to get all you bastards.
Can I ask my question?
Yes. Sorry.
This morning, you helped out in a talk. You give many talks yourself?
Yeah. I do.
That was actually the question.
Yeah, I do. Almost, in fact, all those talks I was telling you, it's more rare that I do this, where I'm tagged.
Yeah, you were helping more so than
I wrote when I say wrote the talk, I obviously don't mean her notes, wrote her notes. But I put the talk together, I make sure it works, all the animations, all the sound effects, having Darwin's jaw drop, all that stuff. Yeah. It's all me. Making sure the presentation looks decent, and, it's color-coded correctly, all that stuff.
Now, I have mentioned that we are at Apostacon, and this is Apostacon, 6 or 7, and we're in Dallas right now, which is pretty cool. The last few years it's been in Omaha, but been a lot of fun. Have you been enjoying it?
Yeah. I hesitated because I gave blood today, and I missed. I don't know how much time I missed, to be honest.
I saw you napping.
I was in and out. People kept telling me I'm napping, and it's you probably caught me when I was involuntarily unconscious. But because I kept trying to keep myself awake.
Yeah.
I wasn't tired in the sense I didn't get enough sleep. I was tired because I lost a pint of your blood.
I was tempted to give blood, but I gave 2 weeks ago, and I thought that's a little close.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. I think they want you to wait.
Well, it's 2 months, but I've done once a month, with different blood drives, because I got lots of blood. I've got great veins, and I've never had any trouble.
Well, awesome.
But I thought 2 weeks might be cutting it a little close.
Yeah. So it was funny.
Especially since I went to party tonight.
No, I can't. So I talk tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to do stuff tonight, but I have to turn in early, I guess. But there's something Robin mentioned in the talk that you were probably going to start alluding to. And I want to give you that. I'll introduce it so you don't. We were practicing, and she said my birth name. In that spot where she's like, "What's up for your stuff?" And I didn't. When I met her, and I was like, like, no. And she's like, what? I was like, don't say that. Don't say my name. Don't say my birth name. It was like, Adam Miller's doing it because he's an asshole. Don't be like him. That was, you got a long back and forth about that.
Well, I figured I had already alluded to it enough. And actually the reason I brought up the Apostacon is hopefully this time they're video recording with sound. Last year they kind of goofed. They recorded everything, but the audio didn't work. So
it's useless.
It's useless.
Unless
so
like
hopefully
promos, right? Okay.
So hopefully you'll be able to catch all the talks that happen during this. You can catch them from Skepticon and Gateway to Reason, and it's a lot of fun coming to these conferences. I fully endorse coming to at least one, but at least you can see the talks online, and you'll be able to see all the talks from this one, and we'll be able to see yours. So I will let that speak for itself.
That's going to be so much fun. I'm kind of glad that NonCon hasn't released the videos yet for my talk before Apostacon, because I don't want anybody here to have an idea. Yeah.
I know. I kind of outed Seth Andrews. He gave a talk at Gateway to Reason, and I posted it. And he's like, "Dude, this is a brand new talk. I don't want everyone seeing it online. I want them to come see me."
He's not wrong.
No, I know. I fully agree. I mean, it's not like Matt Dillahunty. He gives great talks, but they're always off the cuff. I mean, he comes up with the idea like the day of and just talks. So he doesn't have to worry about having a set speech to be ruined because it's pretty much different every time.
I mean, I give the talk I'm going to give is I give it. It's like my talk.
Mm-hmm.
There's other stuff I can talk about, but no one ever wants to hear about it. Or my lawyers tell me I don't do that. So I'm kind of stuck. But I also would probably push, honestly, for me to talk about this at conferences, and I have. When people ask me, like, "Oh, we should talk about this," I'm like, no. The atheist community needs education on trans issues. They just do, because it's pretty shitty.
Yes.
We're dumb when it comes to it. And someone was asking me, well, how do you feel about being a trans activist? I said, no. I'm not a trans activist. I'm a trans person who happens to be an atheist who recognizes that I'm just trying to help our community.
Yes.
I can give a shit about doing anything else. It's not where my passion is. My passion is skepticism, atheism, and education. That's it.
Yes.
And that education, I don't mind educating people outside our sphere, obviously.
Yes.
But if I'm given the opportunity to have an audience, I would rather it be our audience so that we should be better and we're not on a lot of things.
Yes.
And that's because we're all human.
Yes.
We all have failings.
Well, one thing I think people don't realize, being an atheist, it's just one thing. You don't think there's a reason to believe there's a God.
Right.
That's the only thing. Everything else is up for grabs. I mean, I say this all the time. You don't have to believe in evolution to be an atheist. If you're an atheist, doesn't mean you have to believe in evolution.
True.
It's
dumb if you don't.
Yeah, it
makes it. Let me put it this way: there's some things that kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That one is true, but it's very
silly.
rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. But I mean, you can be an atheist and still believe in like things like homeopathy.
Yes,
which
ghosts
is,
and
other silly things. But
so again, what you're alluding to is that not all atheists are skeptics, and that was something that Dillahunty went off on, and that's when I really became a fan of Matt.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, say it, pull it out of my brain. Thank you. It was one of those talks that there's a lot of people give good talks, but occasionally you'll get a talk, regardless of how good it is, where you really connect with the ideas, right? And that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, yes, all atheists should be skeptics. Like, just categorically. And they're not.
yes.
So that's why I like to say I'm a skeptic first, and I'm an atheist because I was a skeptic. That's how that goes. Because, like you said, it only deals with one thing. So why are you defining like everything else right?
Yes.
It makes sense to have a broad base,
yes.
like skepticism,
yes.
on which to build opinions about other things.
Yes. Last thing I'd like to talk to you is, you're obviously very outspoken. I'm pretty outspoken. Some people would like to be outspoken, but don't really know, haven't found their voice, or don't really know how. How would you encourage other people to become either more involved or more outspoken?
That's hard because some people it can be an anxiety thing, or
yeah.
let's say all that. Let's get all that out of the way. Let's start from a place where that's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they need to practice and be honest. Those are the two things that'll help you do anything. If you're honest and you're passionate, then the rest of it will take care of itself. Because you're going to be motivated by your passion to be knowledgeable, and your honesty will keep you in check, and that's it.
That's excellent. That's excellent advice.
That's how when I talk about GMOs, it's not because I'm some shill working for Monsanto.
Yeah.
It's that I did the research and I went, turns out like it's not as crazy as the people make it seem, right? The fearmongers are wrong.
Yes.
I'm open to evidence. There are times when it's like bad. Yes, it's not that they're all good.
Yeah.
There's environmental things, for instance, that we have to consider when we're doing this. And it's a serious concern. I'm not poo-pooing it, but when you are putting the lives of people, putting people's lives at risk by going, but we don't want golden rice because it's GMO, and it's like, dude, you are taking food out of people's mouths.
Yes. It's just silly.
That pisses me off. Same thing goes for people who claim to be able to cure cancer by just going, I'm going to pray to Jesus.
Yeah.
Or faith healers. Part of the reason I got so passionate about that, not just because David Smalley gave me the video, but I was like, I looked at the guy's claims. It had nothing to do with him as a person. I looked at his claims and said, dude, you are saying things that are just without foundation and have the potential to harm people, almost to death.
Yeah. Because
you're gonna convince them to not get proper medical care. So that irritates me.
Yes.
Like, if you want to know,
no, I agree completely.
My passion comes from skepticism because you can say like any false claim that harms people, you should go after. And religion just happens to then fall into one of the things. I'm fine with that. It's a nice recategorization, and I will say again, I credit Matt Dillahunty for rotating my dish a little bit as far as that goes. Getting me to go from I'm an atheist and now I'm skeptical and going, okay, maybe I need to take a step back and understand what it means to be a skeptic and know what scientific. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's one of the things I think these kind of conferences are very important for. Because you can be an atheist, and it's great to find community. And here you find the community that you long to have. Precisely. But the talks that are available, and even the conversations you have with other people here, open your mind to things you may not have thought about. That you just, it's very easy to have your set opinions and think you're right because this is right. You talk to a few other people and find out, maybe I'm not right. And that's what's nice about, I think, atheism especially, because religion teaches you, it's set in stone. Yeah. This is what it says, and it's set in stone, and you cannot change your mind. If you change your mind, then you're going to hell. And atheism is it's all brand new constantly. So you constantly have to be open to new ideas, new information, I guess not atheism, but science.
Yeah.
That's what I like about science is continually being renewed by new information. And,
to that end, there's pro-life humanists here. Very interesting. We talked to one of them last night. I disagree with them, but do you know what was refreshing? We may disagree, right?
Yeah.
On their points, but the thing is, all the points were coming from a basis of fact. There wasn't anything that was said that was metaphysical or supernatural. All the things that they were basing their views on, whether we agree with the conclusion or not, were entirely fact-based.
Yeah.
Now what they think about certain things is, when the sperm and ovum combine, they create a new, unique strain of DNA.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I can agree to that because it's a verifiable fact.
Yes.
Where we end up differing is what significance that has.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
So
it happens. It happens far more often and naturally.
Right.
Goes away.
That's the
but
other
nobody
thing.
complains about God causing them. But
and that's the thing. They don't. They have the same. What's interesting though is even if you remove God, and this is why the Godhead is very unnecessary most of the time. They end up having the same sticking points. Take God out, and you still have a miscarriage argument. You still have unknown, what I'll call unknown pregnancies, resulting in being flushed. Either by a period, or you can have a fertilized egg flushed out a period. Where the fuck is the outrage there? Are you arresting these women? And then if you're going to, how are you going to find out? How the fuck are you going to know? Because if it's getting flushed, the body isn't going to respond with the hormones necessary to find out you're pregnant. It's like so. It would be so invasive to find out. Anyway,
I consider myself pro-life only in the aspect that I'm not pro-death.
I think it's just a misnomer. It's what George Carlin talked about this in his spiel about euphemisms. He said no one's pro-choice or pro-life. He said everyone's pro-choice and pro-life. It's for or against abortion that your group is about. Be honest about it. Everyone is for the right to choose, and everyone wants people to live.
Yes, exactly.
It has nothing to do with it. It's about whether or not you think a group of cells is deserving of certain rights.
Yes. And
whether or not aborting those things is right or wrong.
And that's the real, it's true. It's a misnomer. It's not an honest conversation. Yeah. It's not, and for some, it's not really even a choice. It's a necessity. It should be, either pro-abortion or pro-A. I mean, it should be called what it is.
Mm-hmm. Here, let me. I'll give you another soundbite. All right, I'm gonna try to. No honest conversation has ever started or ended with euphemisms.
It's true.
Ever. Because by definition, in my view, euphemisms are inherently dishonest. They're a dishonest way to communicate. You're trying to soften it, or you're trying to put a spin on something that's.
Well, that's kind of what the New Testament is.
It is.
It's just taking the Old Testament. Oh, it's too harsh. Let's rewrite it, make it a little softer.
It's kind of there is that element to it. It definitely seems like a giant euphemism, but we won't go for what. But I mean, to me, it's just a little bit of a religious 50 Shades of Grey. But maybe that's just the passion with Christ. But no, like it really irritates me when people use euphemisms for any conversation, because then you're not speaking about something honestly, and you're trying to protect feelings.
Yes.
You are
skirting the subject.
Yeah, you're not getting to what you're going around the topic instead of just going straight to the center. And look, let's just be honest about what we're talking about.
Beating around the bush.
We are talking about sticking what essentially amounts to a vacuum up some girl and saying we're going to remove this group of cells because, like any other group of cells that are causing problems, it needs to go.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is even pro-life humanists, I haven't been able to ask them this question, but I would like to. It was brought up that, your cells in your body are different because they can't create a new person. Science has figured out, you can take a cheek swab, and if it wasn't ethically problematic, as it is, you could clone another human being with any cell in your body, essentially, almost any cell in your body. That's where we do that. Yes. Granted, it's all artificial, but the second you can do that, you can't make the argument then, in my view, that conception, or I should say fertilization. I don't want to mince the argument. That fertilization is then a unique happenstance where a new person can be. You know what I mean?
I can't get behind the idea of every fertilized egg has the right to become a person. It just seems silly. If you look at the population of the Earth, if every fertilized egg were to become a person, we would explode. So, not that abortion is a solution. I think sex education is a much better solution, which this whole abstinence education is retarded beyond belief.
Look at it this way. Abortion is a tool. that should be not a first resort. But there's other ways to make it go away. And I actually ended up with a big crowd of people around me explaining this during a big pro-life rally. I mean, we're talking about the pro-life rallies where they take the 30-foot signs of bloody fetuses and put them up on campus. And not only did I defend them, someone was doing a petition to have them thrown off campus. And they said, on what basis are you wanting to throw them off? And they said, look at the signs. And they said, yeah, they're gross, but they have a First Amendment right to be here. They pay taxes like everybody else in this public university. Take your survey and shove it up your ass. They go, well, do you agree with them? I said, no, I don't agree with them. I think they're assholes. But I think you're just as much of assholes for trying to shut them up.
Yeah.
If you fight speech with speech, you don't fight speech with the law. That's fucking stupid. Yeah. Sorry, I get really irritated about that stuff. Because you might disagree with them, but the way to... free speech is a two-way street.
Yes.
You can argue with them.
Yes.
So what I ended up doing, this is really funny.
Penn made a very good point of that last night, too.
Yeah. I had made signs that morning, just like kind of makeshift signs, and it said and I said like their solution, and I just had a coat hanger, but that was to like get people's attention, and once I had their attention, I said, listen, there's a lot of other ways to solve this. And wow, I said, okay, well, medical science can help get rid of certain problems, like some women get abortions only because they have a fallopian tube baby, where it has an implant. Yeah. It's implanted in the wrong place. You can investigate that, and you try to transplant into the uterus. You fund science to help do that. You, much like the medicine of, I actually compared it to the medicine of Civil War. Mm-hmm. Early on, if you got shot, they just had to cut off your leg because they didn't know how to clean it. Yes. They didn't know. Well, they improved on that, and less people lost their legs simply because they were shot. Yes. And they kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it to the point where even if they cut off your leg now, you can get a prosthetic that's almost as good as not having lost your leg at all. I mean, the higher end. The higher end. Yeah. I'm, of course, not saying all of them. But we're getting to the point now where once it becomes more widely available, those really like wow prosthetics that you'll see them having developed, those are going to be mainstream in 5-10 years. For most people, unthinkable that you could have like a powered leg or one that's more comfortable. However, or even the carbon fiber running ones. Yeah. You talk to those runners and they're like, of course I would rather have my legs. Yeah, but.
Well, there was that one runner, I think, South African runner, that he said had a advantage because he had the prosthetic.
That's nonsense. Legs. Do you know how much muscle mass is missing out of his leg? Like he's at he's by definition at a disadvantage. Yeah. The thing is, though, is like all that to say that the medical solution wasn't to just stop cutting legs off because that would be fucking stupid. You would die of gangrene or whatever. The solution was to better science around preventing the medical reasons you need to do something. Yes. And I said for abortion, and a lot of these pro-life people, it started to really click at them, and if they supported science, you could get rid of abortion in a much more sensible way, because I told them, I said, look, you illegalize it, it's still going to fucking happen, and you have solved no problem. Yes. You really don't like abortion.
And you put the women in danger.
You really don't like abortion, you want to be honest about that, and you want to actually solve the problem with some honesty, you support a scientific approach to it. Because if you support, like you were saying, sex education, which is another scientifically based approach where you are preventing unwanted pregnancies, then let's say you do that, and I actually use this argument, so I'm glad you brought it up. I said, let's say we use sex education to eliminate all unwanted pregnancies. Mm-hmm. Then all you're left with, hypothetically, are medical reasons you need abortions. Mm-hmm. You use science to solve those, and then guess what? You don't need abortion anymore. Then it does kind of become a moral issue. Yes. Because then you are kind of ending the life as it were. Yes. But until that's a thing, and the longer you push for a solution that doesn't solve the problem, or trying to make it illegal, this thing that you don't want around is going to stay around a lot longer because your approach is shit. Yeah.
Well, you just look at the logic. The same kind of people who who want to stop abortions are the same people who want to stop condoms from being handed out.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you don't want to stop it, but you don't want to, you don't want to deal with the results of.
And so that's how you solve that problem.
Yes.
And you also give women equal pay and rights. And no. And I say that on purpose because.
No, I'm laughing because we got a little off topic again.
No. But it goes hand in hand with that. That's all.
Yes.
But anyway, so we should probably wrap up. So.
Yeah, you gotta get back to work.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you sitting down with me and talking to me. And anything you want to plug?
You can go to my YouTube channel. You can check me out at ThinkStuffedly at youtube.com/ThinkingStuffedly.
Excellent. And hopefully all the videos from the talks will be posted not too long with audio. And
hopefully.
And good to see your talk then.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Power of everything.
I was made this